If you want to sort of just do a daily video collection on someone constantly lying and completely incapable of saying the truth, you just find a Jen Psaki clip. She's the White House press secretary. She gets up there. She lies about absolutely everything. I would say it's a combination of intentional lying. Partly it's what her job is, press secretary. You're supposed to be deflecting all the time. And then it's that I also think she's either slightly brain dead or something's not right there, because I just don't know what, could you have a soul if you were just like lying constantly like that? So maybe she's just not that bright. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. First off, here she is on forcing vaccine mandates on the states.
These requirements are promulgated by federal law. So when the president announced his vaccine mandates for businesses, that, of course, we're waiting on OSHA regulations for as a next step. That was pursuant to federal law and the implementation of federal law, because it's an executive order. So our intention is to implement and continue to work to implement these requirements across the country, including in the states where there are attempts to oppose them.
Okay, so she's intentionally conflating issues there, which is where her lie sits. So yes, there is an executive order saying that if you work for the federal government or if you work as a contractor for a federal government, meaning, you sell ice cream to the federal government, that you have to be vaccinated. Your employees have to be vaccinated. I'm obviously not for any of that at any level, but that part of what she's saying is true. Where she's confusing things is that the rest of it basically are guidelines. It's a press release. There is no law, executive order or otherwise, that is demanding that companies of 100+ people force people to be vaccinated, must force people to be vaccinated, obviously. She knows that. She absolutely knows that, but she's purposely confusing it, right? That's what she's purposely doing, and also implying that the states don't have as much authority as they actually do, because the federal government should reign supreme over everything else. She actually went further into that right here.
Going back to Texas, what is the president's message to businesses in Texas? You mentioned several of them who are based there.
Yeah.
When it comes to what the federal guidance is now, and now with this state executive order, what would the president say to those companies as they're determining what they should be doing right now for their vaccine mandates?
Well, we know that federal law overrides state law. I would note that earlier when we put out our guidance on the president's announcement about mandates several weeks ago, it made clear that, again, as I said earlier, requirements are promulgated pursuant to federal law and supersede any contrary state or local law or ordinance. Additionally, nothing in this guidance excuses noncompliance with any applicable state law or municipal ordinance. We put out guidance several weeks ago conveying that clearly. But fundamentally, beyond the legal aspect, which is unquestionable in our view, the question for any business leader is, what do you want to do to save more lives in your companies?
Okay, so there's so many lies and confusions in there. First off, she is telling you the truth when she says this thing about we put out guidance. Yes, guidance, not a law. But her implication is, we, the federal government, put out guidance, so you, the states, have to do what we say. No, that's not true. Now, it is slightly true what she said, that usually when the states and the federal government are in conflict with one another, usually the federal government power overrides it. Not always. By the way, if you want a very simple example of this, of what's happening in the states right now versus federal power, in certain states right now, California, one of them, Colorado, I think, where else is marijuana legal? Give me a couple states. Washington, a couple other states. Actually, if you go to New York City right now, when I went back a couple weeks ago, all the corners that I used to walk by that would always smell like urine, they actually all smell like marijuana now. I'm not sure if that's better or worse, but in any event, federally, marijuana is illegal, but states have made the decision to make it illegal, not illegal, right? They've made it legal. So in essence, the states are doing something, and the feds know that it's federally illegal, but they're not doing anything about it. Actually, every now and again, I hate to tell you this, but that Barack Obama guy, remember that picture of him smoking a doobie from way back when? He used to use the Fed every now and again to close marijuana stores here in Los Angeles, okay? So the point is, there is some tension between the federal government and states government, but what she's saying there, that unquestionably the federal government is more powerful and has to bow that the states have to bow to the federal government. It's absolutely a lie. By the way, we have something called the Constitution. You guys remember the Constitution, right? And these Bill of Rights. They're quite fascinating, and they illuminate certain rights that we have to make sure that the government never becomes too powerful. I'd like to sum up the 10th Amendment to you and really listen to this. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. In other words, federal law does not always overpower state law. If something is not specifically delineated to the federal law, then the states are allowed to make their own choices. This is where we'll end up probably in court with a lot of these things, but there is nothing legally wrong with what Greg Abbott did. And if you're in Texas and you're upset about your governor giving you too much freedom, you should move to California. Now, ironically, no one's moving to California, right? We know California had its first net loss of population in 2020 for the first time in the history of the state. It'll probably happen for the second time when we get the numbers on 2021. So she's lying there because she's saying that basically a press release and guidance overruns states. And when she says unquestionably, it's like these people are ripping the mask off and really telling you who they are. We have all the power. It doesn't matter where you live. We're going to make you do what we want you to do.